Get ready.
This is the voice of Wayne America.
Lighten up, Francis.
With your host,
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Mike Carnes.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers?
By height.
Only at WayneAmerica.com.
The supernova's gonna kill us all.
Okay, this guy is the real zero, that's true. Let's just think back when you guys were freshmen, huh?
.com.
Hello, welcome to the Voice of Wayne America podcast, an exclusive here on WayneAmerica.com. I'm Mike Carnes, your host for all things about the best town in all of America, and that is right here in Wayne America. And I want to thank our sponsors at Providence Medical Center for their support of the podcast. We are into the month of April, the first week of April, and of course that means a city council meeting was held Tuesday at the Wayne city offices, and with us is Mayor Cale Giese to talk about what happened at the meeting Tuesday night, and really not a whole lot on the agenda. It was kind of a quick meeting there Tuesday evening.
It was. We had a kind of a long prelude to get into the actual issues, and then once we got into those, the meeting was over pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, one of the neat things was a couple of awards were presented at the meeting, and Betty McGuire was recently honored with the Nebraska Municipal Clerks Association's Outstanding Clerk of the Year Award. And of course, those of us who have lived here in Wayne long enough know Betty, and I think a lot of us would give her the award every year if we're up to us here in Wayne.
Yeah, she's a master of her craft, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's, I don't know, how long has she been with the city now, do you know?
I actually do not know.
She's been a long time, though, I know that.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Her son was in my brother's grade, and I can't remember when he moved. It had to be at least 20-some years ago.
Yeah, so she's been here a long time then,
yeah.
and has done a fantastic job for the city of Wayne. And then also the city's water supervisor, Jeff Brady, was honored by the the National Guard and Reserves for his support of one of his employees. He was presented with the Patriot Award by the employer support of the Guard and Reserves. So, talk a little bit about that.
Sure. That's Casey Junk nominated him. Casey just wanted to kind of say thank you. He knew Jeff was getting close to retirement, so wanted to say thank you for just being so easy to work with guard leave and everything. You know, it's one thing to do the letter of the law. It's another thing to make it easy for those National Guard people, because it is tough when you leave for an extended amount of time, or even just being gone that, you know, as frequently as it is. So I just wanted to recognize Jeff for taking it easy on him.
Yeah, the National Guard, the young people who take part in that, or who join the National Guard and Reserves, they commit themselves. I think it's 1 week a month, and I think 2 weeks in the summer, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that 1 weekend a month, it doesn't seem like much, but when you're depending on what job you're involved with, that can be really challenging to balance the work responsibilities out with those responsibilities.
Between work and family and everything else, you take 1 weekend away guaranteed, and oof, things get busy in a hurry.
Oh yeah, I know all about that. So another item on the agenda, the Wayne Green team made a presentation. Of course, they've been around for 10 years now. Mayor Lois Shelton originated that organization back in 2009, and Sandy Brown, who's on Voice of Wayne America here just recently to talk about the Green Team's 10th anniversary, talked to the City Council there, and they've obviously done a lot of good for the community with their support of environmental efforts here.
Yeah, and Sandy's an excellent leader, so it's always good to hear from her. It's fun to see the recaps, and then kind of where the focus is that she's going with in the future. So she basically just said, you know, although our recycling numbers are impressive, the amount of trash that we still have is, percentage-wise, is getting worse. So looking still to increase that, in particular, that multi-use recycling.
Mm-hmm. Now, what does the city have in its agreement with the trash companies as far as recycling? Is there a requirement for them to separate things, or how's that supposed to work?
So the agreement that the city has is that the different trash companies will offer recycling, and we've worked with them very closely to, if you're going to charge extra, you make it extremely like a token amount, because we don't want to discourage the recycling. So I think right now it's like, an extra $1 just to have the container for your multi-use. and that's just added onto your regular trash bill or whatever. And that's really all the role that the city has besides, we do partner with the Green Team on different things to get things done.
Yeah, and it's been a great benefit here to the city as well. Public hearing was held on the preliminary plat for the Southeast Edition. From what I understand, the Planning Commission hasn't had a chance to really take a full look at that yet, so it's going to be delayed for another month.
Yeah, they kind of took a crack at it. They were waiting on some more official insight from an engineer, and the engineer didn't get to the Planning Commission in time. So the Planning Commission discussed it. What we're really looking at here is road down on the upper rugby fields. If we're going to put in a road to reach the softball complex from there. And then that comes into the difficulties of, okay, now we're running a road that's going to be trafficked, pretty heavily, especially when it rains and people aren't going to be taking that gravel road that they currently are through a residential neighborhood. And the residences are kind of designed down there for first-time home buyers, people that do have little kids. So I think the final solution, that's not a good thing to say. The long-term solution is going to be an entrance off of Fairgrounds Avenue here, right down south of 1st Street. And shoot right into the softball complex through what the old lagoon used to be.
Right.
But that could be, the goal is to have that cleaned up in 3 years. Let's say worst case scenario, we run into some environmental problems or no one wants to take it. It could be 10 years down the road. So we need to get, we probably need to get a path that's paved down there to the softball complex and a road that will simultaneously open up all development on those upper rugby fields. Because if we are going to develop those, there's no point in just developing a portion of it and then waiting and then developing another portion of it later. Like, if we're going to develop them and we're not going to use them as fields, the last thing we need is more just grass to mow that is just costing the city money and not providing any benefit.
Now, what about paving that gravel road that goes to the softball complex now?
See, the only problem with that is roads are paved paid for by the landowners who are serviced by it. So, like, for example, later on in the agenda, we convened as the Board of Equalization. So what that does is it basically decides how much each lot has to pay for those roads. So if we pave the existing road, then the city will be paying for where the boneyard is and where the lagoon is currently. So we'd be carrying the majority of the cost of that road. If we run it through an area where houses will be on both sides, then you can assess the cost of that street back to the homeowners instead of the taxpayers at large.
Mm-hmm. So probably it's best at this point just to keep it as it is and keep it unpaved, the current road, and look to maybe worm a road down there that will open up future development too along those upper rugby fields. Okay. But just kind of by nature, you're going to end up going through a residential, and you know that if it's raining, everybody's going to take that concrete path instead of the dirt one, and then you're going to have, probably parking and everything else. You add parking on the street, and then you add highly trafficked in a residential neighborhood, and if you got kids playing in something, that to me is just a recipe for disaster. Yeah. Yeah. We're talking with Mayor Cale Giese here on the Voice of Wayne America podcast, and Providence Medical Center in Wayne is proud to announce the addition of a new surgical procedure that they now offer at the hospital, shoulder arthroscopy. The surgical procedure is for those who have rotator cuff injuries, where the surgeon inserts a tiny camera and the necessary instruments through small incisions in the shoulder, rather than doing an open procedure with a large incision. Dr. Joseph Carroll specializes in orthopedic surgery for Providence Medical Center. He's the team physician at Wayne State College in the athletic department and also offers his expertise at a number of high schools here in the area. For more information, check out Providence Medical Center's website at providencemedical.com. That's Providence Medical Center, extraordinary care rooted in compassion. Here on the Voice of Wayne America podcast, talking with Mayor Cale Giese about the Tuesday night City Council meeting. And one of the items on the agenda was a discussion of the state of emergency that was declared on March 12th. The council ratified that declaration at the meeting on Tuesday night, and the declaration basically relates to the storm damage that happened in Nebraska back in mid-March. Here in Wayne, we were very fortunate, and when you consider what has been seen and what has been experienced in other parts of the state, we got off very, very easy in the grand scheme of things. The only real noteworthy damage outside of some homes and businesses that got some water in the basements. We had part of the walking trail was lost along Logan Creek there underneath the Highway 15 bridge, and then there was some damage to some lighting at Wayne Municipal Airport. Compared to what other communities in northeast Nebraska are dealing with in the aftermath of this one, we definitely got off easy.
Yeah, especially when you think about Wayne and how we're located in between two waterways. You'd think that we would be the ones who would be in the most trouble. The fact that we've gone through this now, and I mean, we had a similar situation back in 2011 or 13?
It was 2011, yeah.
And the fact that we've been through these two with relatively little damage, we're just extremely lucky.
Yeah, I don't know if you've had a chance to see storm damage in other parts of the state as mayor. Have you had a chance to go and see some other areas?
I've been on the road, or on the highways back from Omaha, and that's about it as far as damage goes.
Yeah.
That I've seen. Wisner, a lot of the farms and stuff outside of Wisner and West Point look like they were completely flooded, and a lot of ground that's going to have hours and hours, I mean days of work cleaning up just to be able to get it, suitable for planting.
Yeah, you see a lot of the highways. You can see where the water was just by some of the plants and grass and tree limbs, tree branches. I haven't seen so many trees along the side of a road, I think, ever. It's just amazing how powerful that water was and what kind of damage it did and what it left behind.
Yeah, going through Scribner, you could see kind of the debris still hanging up in the trees, and you're thinking, oh wow, it was 4 to 5 feet up. Pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know that we lost Logan, part of the trail there at Logan Creek. What can you tell us about what's going on there?
This is kind of the same area that we just, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, we'd done a bank stabilization project and poured some money into that to make it stable, and this completely ripped out all the work that we'd done. Now, the good thing about it being a emergency is now I think the feds will pay 50%, the state will pay 20, or the feds will pay 75, the state will pay 12.5. So we do have a reduced cost, and that same I throw out the numbers because then you can apply that to that's what other cities are looking for to replace their damage too. So even though the damage is huge, we do get some help from our other government entities who we pay taxes to for these type of things. But still, for a small community to carry even 12.5% of that is going to be a hefty toll.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what kind of cost estimate that is for replacing that area?
No, I'm trying to remember right now what we paid for that original bank stabilization, and I just don't feel comfortable throwing a number out. Yeah. Another problem is going to be, one, we have to do something just to get it to stop eroding away, because right now, with it being all exposed, no rock or anything down there, that's going to be a problem where we have to do something right away. Two, getting somebody to do that work on kind of a non-necessity standpoint, I think is going to be a real difficult challenge, just to get somebody to come and look at it and do the work, because everybody who does this type of work is going to be busy doing bridges and highways and roads, and we have to go a summer without a trail. Not that big a deal in the big picture of things that other people are having to deal with.
Yeah, definitely. Contractors all over the state right now are probably inundated with.
Yes.
They are not lacking something to do right now for
Absolutely.
sure. With everything going on, I think is it Butte doesn't have a water system right now, or doesn't have a water line into the city, and there's so many other areas up in central northeast Nebraska that have a variety of problems and issues to deal with. So
first step will be just trying to minimize, get to a spot where we're not doing any more damage, and then two will be being patient or waiting for somebody to give us some direction on, in an engineering direction on how to fix that trail portion.
Now the trail obviously is part of that, but what about the rest of the bridge? Is that an issue? Or is
the bridge is all state, luckily.
Yeah.
So that's been an expensive project for them. I know. I'm not sure how the water impacted them. We haven't been told anything from the city standpoint. And last I saw, they were still down there working.
They're still working away, so that's good sign.
That is a good sign.
And the bad thing is if something were to happen to that bridge, I mean that's a major artery through town here that would be impacted. And
really inconvenience the not only the citizens of Wayne for travel, but also just the economy of moving goods in and out.
Yeah. All the we're seeing trucks go through town here as we talk, and
a lot of semis traveling up and down.
A lot of vehicles go through town here.
A lot of livestock and grain going through there. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, I don't know, do the windmills go over that?
No, I think the windmills have been going east on 35. I think
that probably makes more sense
from there. So. I know there's also some minor damage out at the airport. It sounds like some lighting that was.
I wasn't cued into the specifics. The airport's ran by the airport board, but they did say they had some lighting damage out there. I'm assuming that's runway lights.
Okay.
I can't imagine. I'm picturing the little stand-up tower things, and then the ones that sit on the ground itself. I'm assuming that's what it is. But I honestly don't go out to the airport very often, so I don't know what all the equipment is that's out there, or the different types of lights that they have.
Yeah, but again, when you look at the damage that we have experienced here as a community in regards to this flooding, we definitely got lucky. I mean, it's as close as Pierce, Osmond, Randolph had a lot of flooding in their community. A lot of towns nearby here. Ponca, had their downtown was flooded. We really got off lucky with this storm.
Absolutely.
And we're very, very blessed that we only had to deal with what we're dealing with. And like you said, a walking trail in relation to highways and bridges and some of the other things that these contractors are going to have to work on. Definitely not on the same level at this point. So.
Yeah, it's crazy that I think about how it's easy for us to forget about it. Even in your daily life, when all these people, that's their entire life right now, is waking up, working with flooded ground, damaged houses, damaged neighbors, damaged family, and here we are 30 minutes from it, and it hardly impacts our lives. And then you think about how people states away, it's old news, it's yesterday's news.
Yeah.
You just gotta keep reminding yourself, help each other out and do whatever you can to.
That's kind of a reversal of where we were 5 years ago, where we were picking up the pieces from a tornado, and we had a lot of support from those communities that now are on the other end of that. So
so it's cool to see people reaching out, and you just got to keep that fresh in your mind. So
definitely
keep a charitable heart.
You bet. Well, Final Four. Who do you got for the championship?
You know what? I've been in airports the entire weekend. I'm not even sure who the Final Four is in right now. Is Auburn in it?
It's Michigan State and Texas Tech, and Auburn and Virginia.
Okay, Auburn, Virginia. None of those four were even picked for my Final Four, I don't think. So
I had one. I had Virginia, but
you tell me who it's going to be.
Well, I'm the last person that you need expert advice on that, because I had I picked actually all four of the number one seeds this year. It's only happened once in tournament history, and I thought it was time for it to happen a second time, and it looked good for a while, but then North Carolina got beat, and then Duke and Gonzaga both went down, and Virginia was my only survivor. So I don't know. I guess I got to pick Virginia to win it all, since they're my only survivor. But Michigan State looks really good. Texas Tech has been outstanding. Auburn's. I think you can't go wrong with either of those four teams as a pick. I think at this point.
Texas Tech is kind of a weird team, but they're hot right now. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing about that is with Nebraska firing Tim Miles and now hiring Fred Hoiberg, I think it gives seeing teams like Texas Tech and Auburn get in, who neither team has ever been to the Final Four. Texas Tech has always been a football school, kind of like Nebraska has, but seeing those schools get in gives you kind of hope as a Husker fan that hey, maybe Fred Hoiberg, he's taken Iowa State to the Sweet 16. He's coached in the NBA. He knows what it takes to play at that highest level. He played in the NBA as well, so he knows everything you need to know about playing basketball at that highest level. Maybe someday, Nebraska can be in that position where we're talking about Nebraska in the Final Four, and maybe hell will freeze over at that point. We don't know, but it gives seeing teams like Texas Tech and Auburn gives teams hope that they can get in as well someday. So
yeah, just the very nature of basketball makes Hoiberg's position a little bit easier than Frost. Where Frost, you're building an entire program, 100-some players, 11 players on the field at a time. Whereas basketball, you're talking about 11 players total. If you have 11 solid players, you can make a run in the tournament, and that's one of the things that makes NCAA basketball so great is these little small schools that come out and playing like they got nothing to lose.
Yeah, well, Gonzaga used to be that little school that everybody thought they had a cool name, Gonzaga,
Yeah.
But nobody really took them seriously as a top level basketball program. And now
perennial contender.
Here they are, and you had teams like George Washington and Loyola Chicago a year ago, and other schools like that nobody heard of that made the Final Four, and then even like last year when Maryland Baltimore County beat Virginia last year. It was the first time a 16 beat a 1.
I can't remember what.
So that's the neat thing about the March Madness is just anything can happen.
Basketball, anybody can get hot. Anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah. No. Well, I guess other sports topics. Baseball, the Masters. Any thoughts on either one of those? Or
no, I'm not very good on this.
You're not a sports connoisseur.
I don't watch sports unless it's a casual social thing.
All right. Well, we won't try to get to the Masters champion out of here. We're talking with the Mayor Cale Giese here on the Voice of Wayne America podcast about the City of Wayne City Council meeting that was held Tuesday. The next meeting will be held 2 weeks from now on Tuesday, April 16th at 5:30 at the City Council chambers. Mr. Mayor, thanks a lot for talking again. And good to have you here.
Always a pleasure.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of the Voice of Wayne America podcast here on WayneAmerica.com. I want to thank Mayor Cale Giese for talking with us today. We'll have another podcast coming up soon here on WayneAmerica.com, so tune in then. Until then, this is Mike Carnes, and we'll see you later.